Good evening, welcome. Ms. Olga Chavez, would you mind leading us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome. Pam, would you please note that we have quorum, everyone is present?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to take this opportunity again to welcome everyone. Since our last meeting, we've had 2 hurricanes, a horrible earthquake in Mexico City, 2 earthquakes in Mexico City, and I know that all our thoughts and prayers are with all the people in need right now, and just makes you realize how blessed we are to live in El Paso. So, again, welcome. Item 1.5. Do we have anyone signed up under open forum? No? Is anyone here to speak under open forum? Once, twice, okay. Okay, thank you. Item 1.4, approval of minutes.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you, Dr. Graham. All in favor?
Aye.
No, she's writing something. Dear diary. Too late, huh?
Item 1.7, presentations by individuals, groups, and organizations. Item 1.71, there are no retirees here this evening, Chair.
Mm.
Item 1.7.2, Ms. Olga Chavez, Director of Diversity Programs and Chair of the Hispanic Heritage Committee, will introduce Hispanic Heritage members that are present and showcase Hispanic Heritage Month events being held from September 15th to October 16th, 2017.
Good evening, Ms. Chavez. We
Good
look forward to your
evening.
presentation every year.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Serrata, members of the board, fellow colleagues. I thank you very much for allowing me to just take a few minutes of your time again this evening to present some of the events for our 16th annual Hispanic Heritage Celebration. Let me start by introducing some of the members that are here today. If you would please come forward. Here's only some of the members that have joined me and are very integral part, thank you, an integral part of these events. Carolina Richardson, Lydia Vasquez, Jorge Gomez, Lorena Gonzalez, Michelle Chavez, Luz Roberts, Gisela Garcia, Connie Webster, Dr. Rebecca Escamilla, Rebecca Bell, and Mohammed Adhar. Would you please give them a round of applause because they represent it already. So please stay up here if you don't mind. Moral support is always. If I may start with our presentation. Okay, like I said, this is 2017 Hispanic Heritage Celebration. Our theme this year is honoring our heritage, building our future. We are very excited because we think this is one of the best that we have done in all of these years. Of course, we say that every year, but we really think that we've done exceptionally well this year.
And every year you raise the bar, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you look at the members, there, as I mentioned, these people behind me and the individuals that are mentioned here are the ones that make it happen. And they represent different campuses and different positions, different levels, and they make it a success. If you note here, we have a kind of not a double vision here, but one illustrates all the events that we're going to have. Of course, we had a kickoff that I'll mention in a minute on Friday that was very successful. And the two people that were instrumental in that was Martha Brown and Lee Vasquez. Along with them was Raul Hernandez, Hortensia Lopez, Antonio Rodarte, Becky Perales, Laura Ramirez, and of course Luz Roberts with that. So on the left-hand side, you'll see all the events that we're having, to include read-ins. Read-ins will take place this coming week, and what that means is a faculty member, some of which are here this evening, ask students to come and give their poetry or their short stories or anything that reflects something regarding our theme. We give them first and second place for doing well, and this year we're going to give them a piñata, right? On the right-hand side, we are going to have at Valle Verde on October 5th at 2 o'clock, our students are going to be able to hear Mr. Quiñones, who I'll talk about in a second. Mr. Quiñones is going to give a presentation for 30 minutes and then question and answer. And he will be at the Valle Verde campus, and we were able to get the architectural building in the breezeway, not inside, but in the breezeway. And we will have that event along with the mass communications headed by Elvira Carizal Dukes, who has her communications students develop a film, and they developed, instead of what would you do, what would Tejanos do? So we're looking forward for that presentation. Okay, so we went to get a resolution from the county. These were the individuals that went. Ismael de la Rosa is also a member of our committee. He's not here right now, but the other members are here. Ida Black as well from my office. And as you see, we received the resolution and we took a photo. We then went to the proclamation and the city and received our proclamation this past Tuesday. Okay, so we started the kickoff on Friday, and as you can see, we tried to get as best pictures to show. Some of them are a little dark. So you can see our president was there, right there, greeting us and giving us our welcome. We had one of our vice presidents, Ms. Josette Shaughnessy, who helped us to bring this cheer along with our events. A little bit more. Had a little bit of dancing on the right side. We had some students at the bottom there that have volunteered at the Rio Grande campus. And here's some others. We had Loteria. We had the Viva El Paso dancers and mariachis. So we had a well-rounded, we had it emceed by Carla Mariscal from Telemundo. So we had a wonderful beginning on Friday for the kickoff. I want to thank Paula Mitchell for being there as well and in supporting our efforts at Rio Grande campus. Oops, sorry. And of course, our next big event after our read-ins is our Mentors Dinner. Our Mentors Dinner, if you will, is I hope that this is what Mr. Fierro meant about raising the bar. We are so lucky to have this individual here with us, Mr. John Quiñones of What Would You Do? I've been told by some of my colleagues and from other people who have in the community that they have heard him before, and he is an awesome speaker. He's very motivational and he's very sensitive to his audience. So we're looking forward not only for the students that he's going to speak with, but also with our community and other members that are coming. For those of you who don't know, he is originally from San Antonio, and he is, his life story is just unbelievable, and I've put some of this here, and of course you will hear his story at the dinner, and I know most of you are going. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you, and he looks forward to coming to El Paso. He's only been once before, so he's looking forward to seeing EPCC. We are also, what it's all about is honoring our mentors for this year, and this is Linda Y. Rivas. And Ms. Rivas is an attorney that I'll show you in just a minute, and Dr. Jose Luna Jr., a medical doctor. Here's Ms. Rivas, and she is originally from El Paso, and she is the executive director on immigration. And so we are really fortunate to have chosen her among many to be one of our mentors. And second is Dr. Jose Luna, who has many years of practice, family practice here in El Paso, and he is the executive officer for Centro San Vicente, a federally qualified health center here in the city. Without these sponsors and without El Paso Community College, none of it could happen. So I want to take an opportunity to thank our sponsors for, again, supporting us in our endeavor. I do want to mention, I guess when you're saying also, it makes me feel good raising the bar, is this, we have two good announcements here, and that is that Mr. Quiñones will be receiving the key to the city. He doesn't know it, and hopefully he's not, well, listen to this, but we want to surprise him with a key to the city. And secondly, he is going to get the star lit on the mountain by the Greater Chamber. So with that, I conclude. I hope that you join us, that you spread the word with our event. We've left a poster for you and all the information that we have at this point. So thank you very much, board and fellow colleagues. Thank you.
Key to the board.
Item 1.7.3, optional presentations will be made by the presidents of the Classified Staff Association, the Professional Staff Association, the Faculty Association, and the Student Government Association.
He was raising my mics. Well, good evening. The fall semester is always a really exciting time for faculty because it is the beginning of our academic year. This is the time of year that we have all these really exciting conversations about ways that we want to innovate and continue to change as we look into the next school year and the students that are going to come and fill our classrooms. This fall was no different from any of the others before, but in many ways it was also exceptional. We had several conversations that I wanted to share with you. One of those regards political changes that are impacting our students and potentially members of our community beyond our student body, and that is the Deferred Action on Childhood Arrivals decision by the Trump administration. On behalf of the Faculty Association, we are very, very grateful for Dr. Serrata's statement. On behalf of the institution concerning DACA, the Faculty Association also met on September the 7th and had a conversation of our own. We adopted a statement, and I've been asked to share that with you. Quote, the EPCC Faculty Senate and Association echo and support the statement released by EPCC President William Serrata as regards the DACA decision. As educators, we fundamentally believe and embrace that education is an endeavor beyond politics and borders. As colleagues, we affirm the value and contributions of our fellow faculty, staff, and students who are affected by this decision. As we move forward, the faculty continue to emphasize principled action that will help assure access to high-quality education for all students in our community and continue to support the ongoing mission of the college. End quote. And I share this with you as well as expressing my appreciation for AVP Mo, who also has met with us and spoken with us on this issue, because we recognize that this is an area in which our administration has shown exceptional leadership. And on behalf of the faculty, we truly appreciate it. Our second conversation regards technology. Your Information Technology Division, as well as your Distance Learning Support Service, has been deluged by requests from faculty this fall as we continue to find new and innovative ways that we want to approach our classrooms. I was joking with Dr. Hiron before the meeting began that she's getting phone calls where faculty are asking her staff to make chairs fly. We would love to find new ways to do old things. This is our great passion. And a point well taken in Dr. Serrata's address on September the 7th as regards students coming in are used to having access to certain types of infrastructure as regards buildings. The same is also true of technology. And so on behalf of your faculty, we are requesting that for every dollar that you invest in building new buildings, please also invest in bold innovation and creative new ways to approach technology through which we can deliver instruction. I know that we have talked to many very wise consultants who have looked into the crystal ball and guessed at what the future would look like and what we need to build. And I am certainly not a general, and I don't see the entire field and understand those decisions. But as a soldier in the trenches, I would like to share my observation. And that is that the students that I have in my classroom now do not look like the experience that I had when I was a student. I carried around a backpack, I took notes on paper, I bought a textbook. My students today, they don't carry backpacks. They walk in with a smartphone. They don't take notes. They video my lecture, or they take pictures. They download their textbook, and to be completely frank, this semester when I handed someone a handout, he looked at me confused and said, "Could you please email this to me so I won't lose it?" So, and we can debate whether or not this is an effective way to deliver instruction, but I think what is beyond debate is that this is their paradigm, and that is the student that's coming in. For lack of a better word, we have somehow produced a generation of students that don't believe in paper. But when I look in my crystal ball, I speculate that the generation behind them are not going to believe in buildings. And what makes me say that is I have a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old who at this point don't see the point in going to school. And it's not that they don't believe in learning or they don't see the value in education, because they do. It's just that their impulses are completely different from mine. They sign on to an online community right now and watch a video on anything they want to learn. They're not signing up for traditional classes. And as they watch that video, they then start interacting with students from around the world. They create artifacts of their learning. They find on the internet the contact information for content experts and send the artifact to them and begin to collaborate outside of space and outside of time. And in 5 years, when definitely faculty love the idea of having this new infrastructure and these new buildings, we also think that this leading edge of students, my children, who are then 15 and 16, will look at classrooms with confusion and wonder why their experience can't be more virtual and unique. So on behalf of the faculty, who I have come to believe are the greatest in the entire county, and we would request that you would continue to support the amazing people in IT who have bent over backwards to help us. For every dollar we spend on a building, spend equitable amounts in creating some kind of awesome, creative, innovative, completely unthought of yet form of delivery. So as we continue to have these conversations every fall about how can we reach a new generation of students, we can have conversations not only now about how to make sure our students are successful, how we can retain students who for some reason are unable to attend a traditional classroom, or help a student complete who needs to have experience with cutting-edge technology. But we can continue to have those conversations in the future. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And before you leave the podium, Dr. Sonata, would you please remind the board how much we're spending on IT infrastructure in the new buildings?
So each of the respective campus advisory committees, technology was a piece that was part of those committees. It was a member on each of the respective 7 projects that we're moving forward with, 6 projects that we're moving forward with on the 5 campuses. Several members of the board, Ms. Bell, have been adamant about ensuring state-of-the-art technology within those respective infrastructure investments. Last I recall, Dr. Udoni, I think it was in addition to all of that, an additional $2+ million of infrastructure, in addition to what we're putting in the networking and hardware in each of those respective buildings. I echo everything, and some of my bosses echo exactly what you're saying as well on providing those. I've been in higher ed long enough. I shared with you all, it was, if I could only have a 386, I would be set.
Right.
And now it's, more powerful in my phone. So we certainly agree And we will continue to strive with Dr. Giron and her team and others to provide our faculty, who I also consider the best in the state, not the county,
Well
to
played.
be able to provide those mechanisms for. But we will continue to move forward with those investments, absolutely.
Thank you
Mr.
very
Fierro.
much. Again, I do appreciate all the leadership you've shown on both of these issues, and I know we will continue to have bold leadership in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Dr. Graham?
I was just going to ask Dr. Serrata on the $2+ million. Does that include money to upgrade the knowledge of our instructors as well? Because if it's anything like the public schools, we've got the technology and some teachers that refuse to use it. So do we have, because it's not going to do us any good to put it in there if it's not going to be used.
Yeah, Dr. Graham, those would be in professional development funds that would be separate and apart. This would be specific for the infrastructure, for the $115 million of bonds that we move forward with. They would be dedicated to that. The professional development opportunities that you speak to will continue to be part of the budget, will continue to be part of external of that, and we'll continue to move forward. And again, the trainings are vastly important. We'll ensure those occur as well.
And do we have like surveys that are conducted to see, where our instructors are? Because some of them might be very, very savvy with technology, and some of them may be where the kids are, the students are the savvy ones and the instructor is not. So
I
do
will
we have a
defer
way
to Ms. Bell and Mr. Smith and Dr. Giron.
If I may try and answer, in my experience, faculty are infinitely inquisitive, and they're always looking for new toys to play with, especially when it comes to reaching students. Most of the colleagues I've spoken with are wanting to experiment with technology on infrastructure that we may not even possess yet.
Yeah, and Rebecca did a great job of echoing what I was about to say, and I think we not only have the best faculty in the county and the state, but in the nation and the world and the universe. Is that everything, right? But yeah, we have an incredibly robust, nationally recognized professional development mechanism here at the institution. A lot of the innovation comes directly from those faculty that want to use all the fun toys and engage the student at every level. But we will continue to make sure, to answer your specific questions, we do not have a survey that addresses the competence of each instructor in those areas. It certainly is part of the evaluation process, though. And of course, we do have training for every faculty member that's going to do an online class, and that's required of them before they enroll in one of those.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
Ms.
much.
Bell.
Good evening. How do we follow that up? That was such a beautiful report. Ms. Bell used to be my speech teacher, so I hope not to disappoint. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you, Chair Fierro, President Serrata, and members of the board for giving us some time to speak. I'd like to start off by introducing myself. I am Andrea Porras Portillo, and I'm the new Student Government Association president. Here with me are a few of my fellow SGA members. I'm going to go ahead and introduce them and their duties or their roles. Amy Solis, she is VV Senator. Ms. Brenda Gaitan, she is Northwest Campus Representative. Ms. Virginia Frenchie Vicio, she is Trans Mountain Campus Representative. Ms. Estefania Taffy Torres, she is Valle Verde Senator. Mr. Fernando de la Cruz, he is also Valle Verde Senator, and Mr. Brian Mena, also Senator from Valle Verde. We're done with introductions. And this is only half of the people that we have in SGA. We have a very large group, very good group this year, and I'm really excited to get to work with all of them and all of you. Moving on, I would like to talk about our old initiatives or old business. Our book loan has seen an increase this year. This year we lent out $10,399.65. There is $20,000 in the budget for that, but we're hoping to increase it because, like Ms. Bell said, we might not be buying as many textbooks anymore, but definitely those textbooks are getting more expensive. So we're trying to help our students as much as we possibly can. Also, our food pantry, we have collected upwards of 7,000 items since we began this initiative. We have helped over 24 students this far. Most of them we've helped multiple times, and we're just really excited to see it grow. It's been slow and steady, but we've definitely seen it pick up this fall semester. I would like to talk about the improvements or the progress we've made in the smoking committee. We've finally convened again a whole new committee, and we've met twice. I would say that they've been really positive encounters. They've been really progressive meetings, and I hope that we can get this project done as soon as possible. Student Government Association is still wanting to move forward as a smoke-free, tobacco-free college altogether. Now I want to talk about some of the new things that we've been working on this semester and over the summer. Like you mentioned earlier, Mr. Chair, we have been hit with a number of hurricanes and earthquakes, and of course there's not a lot we can do, but whatever we can do, we try to do to help the people, and not only in our community, but in our state. So as you may or may not know, Student Government started an initiative to help those affected by Hurricane Harvey. We got an 18-wheeler, and we've been getting donations from the community, from our students, from our clubs and organizations, from our faculty. We're almost full. We're like 90% full. It's jam-packed, though. We're trying to get as much stuff out there as possible. We gave up our weekends. We gave up our Labor Day, and we've been there. We've been collecting the donations. We've been arranging the donations, putting them in pallets, and loading them on the truck. I would like to take this moment now to say a special thanks to the Tejano cheerleaders, the Student Union, Campus Life, and Veterans Resource Center staff, the student ambassadors, Carol Attell from ATC for letting us borrow the forklift, the police department for their support and keeping the truck safe, and us as well. The clubs and organizations, specifically the Phi Theta Kappa and the SCAN clubs, because they did give up their weekends as well to help us go load. Debbie Tavanchi from ACTDT for helping us find the trailer, and driver Ernie Dominguez from Russell Transport for letting us borrow his trailer. I would also like to thank marketing for helping us get the word out, and if it wasn't because of them, we would have not had the interviews that we had, and I think that because of those interviews, so many people in our community came out and supported our project. The moment that the moment that the interview aired, we did not stop getting phone calls for the next week. So that was very heartwarming, definitely, to see the support from our community. Also, I would like to thank the groups that helped us set themselves up as drop-off locations: UTEP Student Government, NMSU, MD Needles in the Northeast, Teachers Federal Credit Union, ACTDT, and ProFit Gym. We're hoping to get together a service project to send as many students to Houston as possible. Clubs and organizations have reached out to us wanting to help and wanting to donate their time to go out to Houston and, help rebuild or help however we can in those communities. So we're hoping to get a bus to take student government, ambassadors, cheerleaders, and whoever within our EPCC community will want to help. We're just waiting now on confirmation for the driver so that we can get this trailer out to Houston as soon as possible. Hopefully we can get this done this week, if not next week, and we will have hopefully a press release so that maybe we can have a ceremonial box. We spoke with Mr. Jim Heine, the president, might want to join us in this press release and help load the last pallet onto the trailer and set it on its way to Houston. We are not planning at this moment any drives for Mexico or Florida. However, UTEP student government is, and we're hoping to support their efforts and to help them as much as we can in the manner that they helped us. Some upcoming projects that I would like to talk about are, first of all, I'd like to say that we're very thankful for President Serrata's comment on DACA. It's a issue that touches all of us really, because we know, living in a border community, we will see this affecting us very strongly. So we're very grateful for the comment that you made. We feel that we should do more to help educate our students. So student government is planning a forum, an educational forum on DACA and SB4. We're hoping to get agencies or groups within our community to come out here and perhaps speak or have a table, pass out information, and just do as much as we possibly can to help educate not only those who are going to be personally affected by DACA, but also the community that surrounds them, not only as far as their rights as immigrants, but also as, you know, human beings. We're all granted certain rights here in the United States. Also, we're gonna go to Washington, D.C. on September 27th through October 1st. We're gonna be going to a student government conference, and we're gonna meet with Congressman O'Rourke and Senator Cruz. We're hoping to get them out here to El Paso Community College to have a debate. So hopefully we can get that set up. I would be very excited if that happened. And finally, we're gonna be having as you may or may not know, EPCC is the Region 1 President School, and we will be going out to Midland on October 20th and the 21st for our first regional meeting. I think I ran out of things to say. I'm pretty sure I touched on everything, but thank you so much again for your time, and do you have any questions?
No, I want to thank you very much for everything your group does to the district, and I'm sure Mrs. Bell is very proud of you as a student. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 1.8, communications, none. Item 1.9, Board of Trustees business. Item 1.9.1, the Board of Trustees will consider and deliberate on the Master Plan 2016 Bond Program design options for the Rio Grande campus.
Ms. Solis?
Yes, at this time, Board, I'd like to ask Dr. Serrata to provide us, before the presentation by ECM, to have Dr. Serrata share with the public where we are with the master plan and how it impacts the Rio Grande campus and the surrounding neighborhood.
Thank you, Ms. Solis. Before I call on our project manager to do a presentation with regards to Rio Grande campus, I remind the board and all the members of the audience, El Paso Community College was created in 1969, opened for classes in 1971. So we're approaching our 50th year, 48 years old this year. In the history of the institution has passed one general obligation bond in 1974 for a little under $19 million. That helped us establish the Rio Grande campus and part of the Valle Verde campus. Each of the other campuses and each of the other buildings on our campus, the college has funded through tuition revenue bonds. We've paid for each of those respective buildings and campuses on our own. I know in the 90s there was an attempt to pass a second general obligation bond, and it failed. We've continued to move forward with the needs of the community. When I arrived at the institution in 2012, we were looking at a sixth campus at Fort Bliss to serve our men and women in uniform who have served us so well while they're in uniform, to serve them well when they come home. What I asked the board to do is to look at the district as a whole. It's very rare we have an opportunity to look at the district as a whole and have a master plan for what we need to look like in 2025 and beyond to serve this community and serve it well. Look at the 5 existing campuses as well as the 6th campus at Fort Bliss. The master planners came back and told us, the demographers told us that based on trends, growth trends, that we would serve between 41 and 45,000 students by 2025. Remind everyone that growth at the institution from 2000 was about 17,000 students to a peak in 2011 of just about 31,000 students. And remember, during that period, we added no facilities. So we're really trying to catch up on those particular areas. So each of the campuses was provided an overview of the master plan. We're moving forward with what we call phase 1 of that to construct approximately $115 million of new construction, 6 different projects on the 5 existing campuses. I'll speak to Rio Grande specific. This is the campus that has the majority of our nursing and allied health programs. So the one thing that I know as I get older and different parts of the body start to hurt is that healthcare is going to be something that is vastly important to all of us and will continue to be. This is the campus that provides the bulk of our healthcare occupations and professionals at this campus. These are high-wage, high-skill positions. And so what we did and what we're moving forward with and that our project manager will display is an opportunity to add 65,000 square feet of classrooms and labs to provide, again, opportunities for careers in high-wage, high-field examples like cardiology technicians, to be able to help people in hospitals and to really field the positions and occupations that we know will be demand positions. We obviously know in Rio Grande and in that particular area, as I tell the individuals that are housed on that campus, I have good news and bad news. The good news is we're going to give you 400 parking spaces. The bad news is we have to take 100 away before we give you 400 more. So it's just, it's part of an urban downtown campus. There's nowhere to park. And so we have to start with that and then add the 65,000 square feet. But this, again, is in these particular programs are all led by advisory committees, professionals in the field that tell us the demand occupations, that tell us the competencies that are needed to be taught, that tell us what our graduates do well and not well, where we need to improve those to be able to move forward and provide those professional positions that we all need and will continue to need as we move forward in the future. That is the Rio Grande campus. That is what we're trying to accomplish to serve this region and to serve it well on the 5 existing campuses, and then in 2020 look at the potential of the 6th campus at Fort Bliss. Please.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Serrata. It's a great setup. I am David Rawlings with the ECM International, Program Manager for the 2016 bond. As Dr. Serrata mentioned, $150 million bond. This is just one of 6 projects. Again, Rio Grande, Class Lab, and Garage. It's important. So we'll have about 400 parking spaces of cars. On top of that, 2 levels, academic, and including especially focused on nursing aspects. Okay, there we go. Let's look at site context. I'm going to focus mostly on the not what's in the building, but where the building's going and the look of it. This is the site location. Here is Rio Grande. Cannot see the laser, can we? Okay, here we go. Top of the page, that's Rio Grande. Here's Oregon. Here's El Paso Street. Within this context, there's an existing surface parking lot. We will take up that entire lot with this building. Further look at context, the yellow highlighted site. We are surrounded by existing EPCC-owned properties and a parking garage down here off of El Paso Street. We front Oregon with our new site. We back up to an existing 5-story building and other multi-story buildings in this more commercial area. Noting that this is in Sunset Heights, you know, most people's visions of Sunset Heights are the residential district back here. However, this edge closer to downtown, here's I-10 down here, closer to here, has multi-story buildings with flat roofs, more commercial in nature. Another view looking from the other side, here's I-10 over here, as you can see. Here's our site within this more commercial, multi-story context. Again, how does this tuck in? This is, you know, I'm not gonna lie, this is a very large building. It houses, you know, the parking garage and 2 levels of academic on top. But again, in the context of these surrounding buildings they're already part of the Rio Grande campus. It fits in, you know, as far as size and scale. Now, let's look at the enhancement. Right now, this surface lot is behind a wall. This is your pedestrian experience as you walk down the street with the 5-story existing building. The Queen Anne House, as we refer to it right here, that is on the edge of our development. We propose, now keep your eye on the bus stop here, the Brio bus stop. We propose something like this, a major project, but look at the enhancement to the street level versus the concrete wall in the surface parking lot, as well as being respectful of the Queen Anne House. There's a 30-foot pocket park in here with the main entrance to our new building, and a way to get from our alley within our campus down these stairs, you know, through a landscape area to the bus stop or across the street to the Student Services Center, and tucks well into that urban setting. Now, I'm going to start with option 4. Now, why is there a 4th option? Well, there were different options. This is a major building. The architect explored various options. Option 4 was the one voted on, expressed interest by the board. Go through it quite quickly. We have another option to show you after that. Now, again, the streetscape, you know, looking across the way, streetscape view, developing as I mentioned, the parking garage with the 2 academic levels stacked on top. Another view down at more the pedestrian level. You know, what do you experience as you're waiting at the bus stop? What does this do for this area here? How does it activate it? A vital space that will be used by students for breaks or used by people waiting for the bus, or the trolley goes right down here. Notice the expression of the elevators. Have to get all the way up this building. Down Oregon, looking down Oregon. Note how we have enhanced this alley and left the access to the back to the rest of our campus. Down the alley, the view here, the parking garage with the academic levels on top. The enhancement, we plan along Oregon to try to beautify it, you know, try to make this a better space. And the back facing our alley, you know, and noting how the entry is off of here and how you flow down from our alley in the back down to Oregon Street. Now, again, I must mention the other things, the other enhancements. Not only are we adding instructional space, I can't emphasize enough how the parking issue, any urban setting, we have issues with parking. This is going to add, and it's going to help the surrounding neighborhood and relieve the burden of our students parking, you know, and coming into and providing for our own parking. Now, moving on to another option that was considered by the board, option 1. You'll see the same views and just slightly different. You'll be able to compare the slightly different exterior treatments. The interior and function is the same. Here we are looking more of a bird's eye view, or it's standing on top of the Trost building across the street, looking at the 2 levels of academic on top of the parking garage. Still the same courtyard here, you know, it's the relation to the respect to the bus and the trolley line. This pedestrian view, the activated courtyard, the brick, the, you know, as we had in our other option, the station. The view down Oregon, again, trying to soften the edge of this, you know. And the view from the alley, showing the stair tower and the entry back towards the courtyard to Oregon. That was a brief overview of the exterior of this building, the proposed exterior of this building as we develop it further. The architect is currently in design development, meaning he's still gathering information. We're pricing, costing, getting the technical aspects of this building worked out before he goes into construction drawings and completes his design. Are there any questions?
I do. I have a couple questions. I was just curious, based on feedback from our presentation to the Sunset Heights Neighborhood Improvement Association last week with Richard Long. Am I on? Can they hear me? What's the matter? Was there ever any consideration of pitched roofs for the design? And if not, why? If so, why? If not, why not? And do any of our existing buildings have pitched roofs? And
Well, again, it's a good question, Ms. Lees. In this area, although we have the traditional neighborhood back here in the Sunset Heights, as you reach this border here towards Rio Grande and coming down El Paso, it takes on a more commercial aspect as you get towards I-10. You know, technically looking, looking online, Sunset Heights was thought of more the residential neighborhood, but it does technically go, depending on the source, to Mesa, to I-10, and then back to UTEP. However, within that area, it's not just all residential. There's some commercial uses in here. And again, our context is multi-story buildings with flat roofs. Also, too, I'd have to question, if we did another view of it, you can see where the residential ends and the commercial, the heavier commercial multi-story buildings begin. And then again, how we fit into our context being of flat roofs, of, large buildings that maximize the space we have and maximize the instructional space in our parking garage. But also, too, one thing to think about at this, let's go back to the ground level view, the pedestrian view. Let's say I had pitched roofs on top of this 5-story building. Am I really experiencing that down at the pedestrian level? What I'm experiencing at the pedestrian level is this courtyard, is the frontage along here. I'm not really seeing, we could put that up there. You wouldn't really experience or appreciate it in reality.
all right. And thank you, I appreciate that explanation. And just another comment that came up, and we do have some members from the association, I think, that want to make some comments to the board. The Queen Anne, you mentioned the Queen Anne house that's, can you go back to that?
Let's go back. There's the Queen Anne house. You can see it to the side here. It borders, we're relieving it. We're leaving at least 30 feet between it and our building to develop that courtyard.
And do you know if the architects was there any attempt to try to integrate anything historic about that building into the new proposed design?
Honestly, no. And I would explain that in that is a residence, that is a house. It has a historic particular style to it. It had a particular function at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Our building, much like our other buildings, community college already owns and operates on campus, they have a function. They have more of a healthcare function, and they park cars. They don't store people. So just to say it's a different function. It demands a different look to it, in a different context, in a different building.
I think, thank you very much for that presentation. This would be an opportune time for Mr. Negron to join us up here and maybe I know you're here to make some comments. Welcome this evening. You can come up here, you can introduce yourself and.
Okay, I was trying to take some notes, so I'll try to stick to those. We have some of the residents here who can give their impression of what we saw for the first time. I think it was last week or the week before. So appreciate you putting this on the agenda relatively quickly, because we really would like to talk to the college about what's possible. So we appreciate the opportunity for input. We understand that there was a lot of campus level input. The stuff you talked about, the committees, obviously makes perfect sense to us. You have to assess your needs and you have to base those projects on those internal needs, but there's also the larger picture of how this affects the community around it. And the neighborhood association, and I'm sorry, I kind of jumped into it. Maybe I should introduce myself. My name's Cito Negron. I'm the president of the Sunset Heights Neighborhood Improvement Association, and the name improvement is really important to that because the association was founded back in the late 80s specifically to protect the integrity of the neighborhood and its surrounding area, which of course the campus is a very important part of. It's a great part of what we consider to be the neighborhood, even though, as was pointed out, parts or maybe even all of it are right on the edge outside the historic district. Nonetheless, we feel very close to it. So I drive by
Your other
there.
members, if you'd like.
I'm sorry?
You can introduce the other members at this
Oh,
time. if you
okay.
want,
Well, Hal Marcus, who I'm sure you all know, famous artist and maybe a godfather of the neighborhood. Patricia, his wife, and very engaged in the neighborhood association. And Mary Wells, who takes notes and minutes at our association meetings.
Very good notes, by the way.
Yeah.
Lived in the neighborhood since 1970.
Lived in the neighborhood since 1970. I think everybody here has lived in the neighborhood for quite a while. I've been there for about 30 years, so I think I'm the newcomer. So there's going to be parking and other traffic challenges. I drive by there every day. Thousands of people drive by there, whether they're driving by through the neighborhoods or whether they're driving up and down Mesa. It's a defining feature of that part of town, as are some of the other buildings and structures that are on the edge of the neighborhood. And for so many years, we've kind of concentrated within the neighborhood, but we also have a very strong awareness of the edge and the importance that the edge sets and how the people of the whole city see the neighborhood and how they interact with the neighborhood. And we had this issue come up with a proposed cellular tower that was going to be 70 feet high, very inappropriate structure for the neighborhood. And I guess they thought it was okay because it was on the freeway side of the neighborhood. And a very important point to us was that so many thousands of people drive by there, and everyone should have an interest in that being something that's attractive to look at and appropriate for the neighborhood, in the same way that people see downtown, you know, as a larger issue. We're trying to generate interest in downtown. And so the projects that happen in and around downtown and in the historic neighborhoods have to be appropriate to those settings. The immediate discussion here is the design. And you know that one thing about the rendering is it didn't show the context of the neighborhood. So you see the building itself, but you don't see the buildings next to it. You saw the buildings next to it when you saw the aerial that shows its compatibility in the scale with other structures. But you didn't see the rendering in context of the other buildings that exist around it, including the campus's own older building, which is a beautiful brick building, as are almost every building on that campus. I drove by there today and realized I hadn't really noticed it before because it just looks so compatible with the neighborhood, but every building around there is brick. And even the newer addition building, which I think is a 4 or 5 story building, has a lot of brickwork on it. That's a very important element, a design element, that makes it compatible with what's around it. About the walk, we think that walk and the pedestrian experience is a fantastic thing to look at. We obviously also feel the same way, but you have to realize that thousands of people who are going to be seeing it are not going to be seeing it from the pedestrian experience. They're going to be seeing it as the view from their homes or as the view as they're passing up and down the street. And we want that to look good, whether you're walking on the sidewalk or whether you're driving up and down the street. And I'm going to let them speak on their reactions to the design and in a moment, but just think the final thing I want to say and where the neighborhood association is coming in is that this was a lot to take in. And it's happening very fast. You guys are on a timeline, and you understand that construction projects have a timeline of months and years. This is happening to us now in a matter of days and weeks. So we are respectfully asking that we have some time to talk with the appropriate representatives so that we can provide some feedback and input. You heard some talk about the pitch roofs or the Queen Anne. Those were things that were said at the meeting just sort of as a quick response on the spot to some elements that people thought would be appropriate. They're not set in stone. There's certainly, things that we understand you had some answers for those, but we think that a dialogue with the appropriate people from the college is the right thing to do to allow us to have some time for input. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the neighbors so that they can provide some of what their initial reactions were.
Hi, my name is Hal Marcus, and I've lived in Sunset Heights since about 1969. Would it be possible to get the pictures back up there? Thank you so much. I've lived in the same building on Oregon and River since 1970, and before that I lived in apartments in that neighborhood. And I want to thank you, especially Selena, for inviting us, because you all are the board of trustees and of the greatest college in the world, I just found out. So I thought it was a city-state I thought it was a city-state, and then it was the world, and I think it was the planet. So I feel very honored to be here to put in our input. Yeah, so because of that gingerbread house, which is over 100 years old, and because of the other building, I don't know how to use the pointer, but the other building was the old El Paso Tech. Is this a pointer on here? Can someone show me how to do that? The red one. Oh. Oh, it's not showing up too much. Okay. Oh, well, so I think that the gingerbread house is right around here. And I think it's sandwiched between this building right over here, which is the old El Paso Tech. And then right across the street is the old Temple Mount Sinai, which also is 100 years old. So being that this is sandwiched between those, three historical buildings. Now, I did see the rendering of the idea that you'll have for the performance arts, dance and performance arts for the old temple. That's fantastic, and I wish it was going to be done sooner. That's the type of thing we want to see in our neighborhood, more of the arts. But that being said, like Selena has suggested about the pitched roof and things like that, is that the gentleman was talking about how most people were going to be seeing it from the ground level, so it doesn't really make much difference what's going up on top. But that's not the case. Sunset Heights is called Sunset Heights because it has a lot of heights. And so you'll be on different homes and different apartments and different places and looking down on that. So most people who are going to see that building aren't even the students. It's going to be thousands, probably 20,000 people a day that see the landscape. In my case, for my home, it will be blocking a lot that goes on downtown with the skyline. So the height has a little bit of an issue, and also, what it looks like in context of the neighborhood is very important. We take a lot of pride in Sunset Heights. We're a part of the Sunset Heights Neighborhood Association. We have the tour homes every year. We have over 3,000 families living in that neighborhood. And the thing about Sunset Heights is it has a small footprint. Downtown, we have the ballpark. On one side, we have the UTEP, and on the other side, we have the freeway, and on the other side, we have, Mesa and Stanton Street. So we can't grow anymore. If any of you all had the opportunity to drive around Sunset Heights between the hours of 8 and 3, the parking is horrendous. You cannot find a place to park. And it's not your guys' fault, it's really UTEP's fault, because most of the people can't afford the parking, and so they'll park along the streets. That's a huge problem for these homes. A lot of people who live there, we have artists, we have old people, we have young people, we have a great diversity of families, and the rents are still fairly cheap, and it's really a nice neighborhood. The kids are the kids are playing outside, the grandmas and grandpas are there. And what our job is to really safeguard the historical neighborhood of Sunset Heights. So we're very, very pleased and honored that we're able to work with you guys on this building, because it's really important. It's really important to our community and to our Sunset Heights that we have some input. So we want to thank you for letting us have that input. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Wells. I'm the acting secretary of the association. I don't want to repeat anything that you've already heard. I guess I just want to kind of bring up a couple of ideas that I've been running around in my head. One of those is that it is true that we haven't had the opportunity to have a conversation, a dialogue about the planning of this, as was admitted, very large building that will soon be in our neighborhood. And it's not only a neighborhood issue, it's really an El Paso community issue. And the reason why I say that is because Sunset Heights is actually, in my view, the heart and soul of El Paso. It has the historical context of old El Paso back to 1910 and so forth. And it's in this wonderfully vibrant corner of the city right before you get to the river and to Mexico, that is representative and symbolic of who we are as a community. So I believe that it's much more than a neighborhood concern in terms of respecting the heart of El Paso. And I totally understand the points that you have made about the fact that we have the nursing program at EPCC. They're housed at the Rio Grande campus, and how important that program is for the community also. And of course that they need the space to expand their teaching in order to to provide the best qualified healthcare professionals we possibly can for our people. That's very clear. And of course, the parking thing is clear as well. However, it is going to be a very large building. And I guess there's no way really around that, asking for a variance on it. There's a reason that there was a height, there's a reason that why one would have to request a variance, because it is an imposition that does not actually fit in scale where it is located. But if we could perhaps get some more softening on the building itself, the original option that we were seeing, that we were shown at our meeting, was extremely industrial and sterile in feel. And the second option, I believe it's option 1 that we were seeing, that we were shown here in the meeting today, seems to be, as you said, sir, a little bit softened in some aspects. I'm wondering if there's anything we could do maybe around the window treatments to give it a little bit more organic feel that is more in keeping with where it is located. And so I guess those are my main points, that it's more than just our neighborhood association that has a concern on this, and that we would like to have this dialogue to go forward. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. My name is Patricia Medici, and I don't have any new thoughts to add to what's already been said, but I would like to invite you all, if you haven't experienced Sunset Heights, to come check it out. There's a great opportunity to do that. We're having a home tour October 14th, and I just want to invite you all to come.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Negron. You know, if I can just say a few words, Ms. Solis, regards to this project. I know it's in your district. Thank you. You know, we have been partners in that area also for 47 plus years. And I think we're very sensitive to the neighborhood, and we're very sensitive to the students. We want to make sure that, did you want to interject something? Okay. We want to make sure that the students of El Paso Community College get the best value for their dollar, and we want to make sure that they're able to graduate, go on to get their certificates, or leave with an AA and find some very good employment immediately. But so everything you have said this evening, the board has taken in. I would suggest that the board take it in consideration. Dr. Serrata and his team can reach out to you all at a later point and set up maybe another meeting where you all can talk more in detail. But I want to thank you all for your time, for your investment, for your commitment, and for letting us be partners, and you being partners of us also in that area.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We totally agree. We're welcoming the addition to the community, and we realize y'all are on a tight timeline, so we're available as soon as you guys are. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Before we move on, Mr. Uxler brought something very important to the board, and he has a suggestion for Dr. Serrata and the team. Mr. Uxler?
Yeah, if I may, I have a copy of the Borderland issue portion of the El Paso Times today. If I may have the opportunity just to read some extracts. The title is Espinoza Finalist for Education Award, subtitled Socorro Superintendent, one of 5 nominees across the country. In the first paragraph, Socorro Independent School District Superintendent Jose Espinoza has been named one of 5 finalists across the country for an award of excellence in education, and this award is the 2017 Escalante Granadias Prize for Best Education. Goes on to say the winner, who will be announced October 5th, will receive $10,000 for himself or herself and $10,000 for his school or district. And then I like the last part. The best school established the prize for the best education in 2014. The winners exemplified a commitment to learning, discipline, character building, and high expectations that Escalante embodied. And then the final statement, if he wins, Espinoza plans to donate the $10,000 award to him as a student. I think this individual exemplifies what we value in education leadership in this town, and I think we need to cite him, support our report, support him directly.
Thank you very much for bringing that to the board's attention, Mr. Rexler. And Dr. Strata?
Yeah, Chair Fierro, members of the board, Dr. Espinosa has been a wonderful partner. Started at Socorro Independent School District in 2012, in September of 2012, and since his arrival, we've established 3 additional early college high schools in partnership with Socorro. My understanding is the board would like us to draft a resolution in support of his nomination. We will happily do that. We know that there's a tight timeline on that, so we will get that to Dr. Espinosa and his team so that they can submit it as part of his portfolio in the application. He's been a great partner, and we look forward to him winning that award, that prestigious award. But we certainly appreciate the collegiality of the board, and we will move forward with the resolution on behalf of the board.
Thank you again, Mr. Rexler. Thank you, Dr. Serrata.
Item 1.10, board reports. Item 1.10.1, treasurer's report, none. Item 1.10.2, president's report. Item 1.10.2.1, Dr. Serrata will update the Board of Trustees and audience on recent events that have transpired at the college.
Chair Fierro, members of the board, I will be brief. In addition to the pictures that Mrs. Chavez was so kind, she's left now, that she was so kind to share that I was in those photos, which show that I need to be on the treadmill more often. In addition to the opening ceremonies of the Hispanic Heritage Month, there's some other activities I'd like to brief the board on, some accolades that our faculty and staff have received as well. Dr. Marissa Pierce, our Executive Director of Outreach and Transition Services, has been selected to participate in the prestigious National Community College Hispanic Council Leadership Program as a 2017 fellow. She's one of 22 members of the 2017 fellows cohort selected from community college candidates from around the country. The program was designed to develop a pool of highly qualified Latinas whose career interests focus on assuming increasing responsibility in administrative positions. We did hold, speaking of early college high schools, we held grand opening celebrations for 2 Isleta Independent School District partnerships, the Isleta High School Early College Academy and the Parkland Early College High School, both on August 28th. Many kudos and thanks to the board members who were able to join us for that. These 2 openings now constitute El Paso Community College's 12 early college high schools. And again, we have now doubled the number of early college high schools, and yet we've maintained our success rates. Those 12 early college high schools, or the 9 that have actually had graduates, have steadily increased the percentage of students who actually complete their associate's degrees. We're now at 74.2% of early college high school students receiving their associate's degrees before they graduate from high school. The national average is 24%. Professional Development Day was held throughout the college district on September the 7th. Workshops were conducted by each of the vice presidents in the morning with each of their respective staffs and divisions. And then I was fortunate to deliver a State of the College address in the afternoon. We broadcasted, we live streamed it, Dr. Ron and her team. We live streamed that from the auditorium here at the ASC to the rest of the campuses, but we did have an attendance of 600 to 700 in person here at the auditorium. And finally, we'd like to also present some kudos to our partners at UTEP. The University of Texas at El Paso celebrated the 25th anniversary of the El Paso Collaborative for Academic Excellence on September the 20th, yesterday, or Tuesday. UTEP established a collaborative partnership with EPCC, Region 19, and was created to ensure academic success for all students K through 16 and to ensure that all students graduate from high school prepared to enter and succeed in college. You're right, Ms. Solis, it was September 19th. Robert Schwartz, the Professor Emeritus from Harvard University of Practice and Educational Policy Administration at Harvard Graduate School, provided a keynote address, and then closing remarks were made by Katie Haycock. Katie is the retired president of the Ed Trust. Both are giants in the field of education. Both have influenced higher education as well as K through 12. And some of the comments that were made were that the gains and what was created is really El Paso's only one of 2 regions in the nation that they saw that possible, the other being La Jolla, California. given the partnerships that are established, and both regions are seeing amazing outcomes as a result of this partnership. And then finally, I think Mr. Mejia has a video to show. It better not embarrass me, Mr. Mejia.
A surprise video.
I want to welcome you to the Rio Grande campus and hope you enjoy our hospitality throughout the day and enjoy taking part in the activities this month. And welcome to our campus.
As we honor that heritage that we have of such a rich respect for education, among the many other things that our community, the food, I'm not going to find better food. You know that now salsa is more popular than ketchup. I mean, there's just so many wonderful things that our community has brought to our nation. But beyond that, as we build our future, let us think of the message, the spiritual message that education beyond high school has got to become part of our rich history and our rich heritage. And that concludes my report, Chair.
Very nice. Thank you, Dr. Sriratta. Great video.
Item 1.11, consent docket, that includes item 3.2.
Move to approve.
Second?
Questions? None.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Mr. Uxer?
Aye.
Ms. Solis?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Ms. Nájera?
Aye.
Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Fierro?
Aye.
Item 2.0, administration, none. Item 3.1, full-time institutionally funded actions.
Move to approve?
Second.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Mr. Uxer?
Aye.
Ms. Solis?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Ms. Nájera?
Aye.
Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Fierro?
Aye.
Item 3.3, information items, no action is required. Item 4.1, consideration and deliberation on the approval of a 60-month lease agreement with Xerox Corporation for digital imaging production copiers, printers for the El Paso County Community College District Instructional Service Centers in the amount not to exceed $345,000.
Move to approve 4.1 and 4.2.
Second?
Item 4.2, consideration and deliberation on the approval of the renewal of a software license agreement with Statistical Analysis Software Institute Incorporated for SaaS Business Intelligence in the amount of $58,510.
Any questions?
Yes.
Mr. Uxer?
Number one, on the 4.1, it says right here, not to exceed the amount of 345,000, but I look in the abstract provided, and the last sentence and the next last paragraph, such contracts are competitively awarded. And I'm wondering, when I look at this, I don't see any mention of any competitive award, I don't see any generally we see documentation or some sort of statement. So is this under whatever you're cited through the Texas Department of Information Resources?
It is already, it's a state contract, and therefore that process goes through the state, and it's already competitively awarded through the state on the state contract.
Okay,
So therefore, you're not going to see, this is not something that we have conducted ourselves.
okay.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Mr. Uxer?
Aye.
Ms. Solis?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Ms. Nájera?
Aye.
Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Fierro?
Aye.
Item 4.3, consideration and deliberation on the adoption of the order and the certificate of order setting tax rate of $0.141638 per $100 evaluation, which is a 4% increase in the effective tax rate for fiscal year 2017, 2018.
Move
Motion-
to approve?
Second.
Mr. Fierro, Ms. Shaughnessy has asked that I read the order setting the tax rate.
Please.
Whereas the Board of Trustees of said district has received, accepted, and approved the certified appraisal roll for the 2017 tax year, and whereas the district has calculated those tax rates and made such other calculations as required by law, and whereas the Board of Trustees of said district wishes to adopt a tax rate, therefore be it ordered by the Board of Trustees of the El Paso County Community College District that the maintenance and operation tax for the district for the 2017 tax year be set and adopted in accordance with Chapter 26 of the Texas Tax Code entitled Property Tax Code as follows. Operations tax rate, $0.141638 per $100 evaluation. Total, $0.141638 per $100 evaluation. This tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operation than last year's tax rate. The tax rate will effectively be raised by 4% and will raise taxes for maintenance and operations on a $100,000 home by approximately $6.73
A year.
per year.
Note- Can we note that that's approximately 55 cents a month?
Thank you, Mr. Uxer.
There's been a motion and a second. Would you like me to call the vote?
Any other questions, comments? No, we're ready, Pam.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Solis.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
No.
Ms. Nahara.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 5.1, consideration and deliberation on the approval to renew an existing contract with Sun City Air Conditioning Company Incorporated for the annual maintenance and repair of air conditioning units throughout the district in the amount not to exceed $90,000 per year.
Move to approve?
Second.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Back to the same thing. I see that, and I see the abstract award. Again, is this competitively nominated? If so, we don't see any kind of,
Yes, sir, this is an extension of the existing contract that went through CSP.
okay, an extension. Could we have put this out to bid?
Well, I guess we could have, we do have the option of renewing, so when the CSP was approved by the board, we did have that option already that we are exercising now because we are satisfied with the work.
Okay, and are we also satisfied that we could not have found somebody significantly cheaper with the same quality? Have we satisfied with that? Has that assessment been made?
I don't know that I can answer that question. Maybe I would ask Mr. Gallardo to come forward and respond to that question. Oh, Mr. Romero.
I think there's a discussion between the two of them as to which one wants to walk out first.
When we went out to bid, and this is one of those that we did the competitive process here at EPCC. It's not like the previous item
Sure.
where it was the state that did it. We held the competitive process, and at the time, they were the least expensive out of everybody that proposed. When we did that, when we put out that RFP, we wrote on there, whoever gets this, you get the option at the district's sole discretion and with acceptable service of having your contract renewed. And that's, at this point, what we're asking you to do, to consider.
I would gather then that we made the subjective judgment that it would not have, we could not have got the same service for significantly less money. That's a subjective judgment, I guess.
I think, in my opinion, that is what we're doing. We are making the subjective judgment that
Mr. Lovato.
that
Okay.
another vendor wouldn't be significantly
Okay.
less expensive.
Okay.
Great, we're ready, Pam. Thank you.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Solis.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Ms. Nahara.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 6.1, curriculum and instruction, none. Item 7.1, consideration and deliberation on the approval of a contract award with the College Board to support required academic assessment testing of students in an amount not to exceed $120,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions?
I have a question, sir.
Yes, Dr. Graham?
Mr., didn't was there talk about getting a different test, or are we still gonna be with the AccuPlacer for the long run?
I'm not aware. I believe it's the same test. I'm not aware of a previous discussion on a different test.
At the state level, no? Are most colleges using the
This is the one
AccuPlacer?
that, from what I understand, this is the one that the Corning Board actually requests. Yeah, it's one of those where you have to do that test, because that's the one that the Corning Board is the one that's, I guess, the one that they request for us to do.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Graham, the vast majority of students are using the TSI, the Texas Success Initiative. This would be one of the acceptable alternatives, but more and more and a higher percentage of our students are using the TSI.
So is the AccuPlacer mostly for students that are not coming directly out of high school to the college? Is there a big difference between the TSI and the AccuPlacer?
The AccuPlacer, from my experience, Dr. Graham, the AccuPlacer had the most, it was the hardest exam with regards to mathematics. It is a branching exam, so that it's all computerized and branching. And so if you miss the first two questions in the math section, you never recover. And so that's how important it is. We would educate students to know, and we do it here. In fact, we have the model of letting students know how important the exam is, why they're taking it, and to do as well as they possibly can to take it seriously. And so just based on it being a computerized exam, that the results are instant, that's one of the reasons most institutions use it as an alternative exam. The Texas Success Initiative assessment is still the primary exam that we use for students, both those that are coming to the college right out of high school, as well as those that have been away for a period of time.
And years ago, we were sending a lot of students into remedial or developmental education because of the results of the AccuPlacer, right? Is that been changed, or are we still?
We see, Dr. Graham, a stronger and stronger student, just based on the data that we review annually. We see a stronger and stronger student coming from K through 12 from our 12 school districts. It's been a period of time since I asked IR to run data, but I look at the number of contact hours that we report to the state for contact hour reimbursement. And that used to be over 18 to 20% of contact hours in remedial. The last time that we asked the team to run it, I believe it was 12%. So we see a stronger and stronger student. There was a real fear with House Bill 5 and the two regions of the state that were most concerned and that opposed House Bill 5 the most were South Texas and West Texas, El Paso and the Rio Grande Valley, due to the concerns that we would track students into less rigorous programs. I'm very proud to say that the 12 superintendents in our region, in Region 19, along with Dr. Natalicio and I, all signed off that students would be, the default for all students would be the most rigorous program. So we will continue to monitor it, because we still have a fear that House Bill 5 could potentially lower standards and have students come in less prepared. To date, we have not seen that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
This is also required of all the kids that go into early college high school, correct?
Yes, sir. The TSI, those students that are going into the early college high school, they are taking the TSI assessment, and we've gone back and recertified the schools to be testing sites. They can use this exam as well, Judge.
But do you feel that's one of the reasons why we have such a success with these kids graduating?
I think that we have an incredible success because we have high expectations for the students that we serve at both in early college high schools as well as traditional students. and we provide the support, in particular at the early college high schools. They have more time on task, Judge. They do boot camps to prepare them for the exam. If they don't pass it the first year, they come back the next summer. They have another summer bridge that they work with those students. So they do an exceptional job of working with them to prepare them for that.
Do we do just as well with the students that are taking the AccuPlacer? Because the 12% still needs to be minimized. It's
Absolutely.
still pretty high.
It
at
is,
12.
Dr. M.
Even though, congratulations, we brought it down from 18, but I know that a few years ago when we approved the Math Emporiums and some of the other initiatives, it helped to bring that down. So is there something else we need to do to continue reducing that number?
There is. And what I would say that part of that is to continue to expand dual credit opportunities. And the reason I say that is if students know that you have to be college ready to enter that course. So the best way to avoid students being in remedial courses is to graduate them from high school college ready. And what we've seen is the biggest incentive to get more students to graduate college ready is the opportunity to take dual credit courses while still in high school. And therefore, they prep for those courses and they become college ready prior to taking them. It's
But
one of
those
the
are the
big
ones
pieces.
coming out of the TSI, with the TSI. I'm talking about the ones that are still having to take the AccuPlacer instead of the TSI.
It's an alternative exam, Dr. Graham, so we will look at that. I don't know offhand what the results are. It's been many years since I looked at the TSI versus the AccuPlacer. But I do recall that at that time, there were several alternative exams. Asset was one, Compass was another. To TSI, and AccuPlacer was the third, but AccuPlacer was the most difficult. Now it's the only one that the state will allow as an alternative. The others have essentially gone away. But we'll continue to monitor it.
It
Please,
is
Mr.
basically an alternative to the TSI.
Correct.
Right, but are we doing anything like to help prepare the students that are going to be taking the AccuPlacer?
Yes,
prior to
that's
them
part of the
taking
bridge
it?
program as well, and that's part of the pre-test, retest program.
Prep.
So on the prep program, they
program.
have the opportunity to both, whether it be TSIA, but AccuPlacer did have practice exams. And so
Yes.
it's the same system that we utilize there.
Thank you.
We're ready, Pam, thank you.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Mr. Uxer?
Aye.
Ms. Solis?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Ms. Nahara?
Aye.
Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 7.2, consideration and deliberation on the approval of continuing education tuition rates for new courses.
Move to approve item 7.2 and item 7.3.
Second. Second.
Item 7.3, consideration and deliberation on the approval of continuing education tuition rates for revised courses.
Any questions? Pam, we're ready.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Mr. Uxer?
Aye.
Ms. Solis?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Ms. Nahara?
Aye.
Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Would you like to go into
Yes,
executive
please.
session? The Board of Trustees may conduct an executive or closed session pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code for one or more of the following reasons: consultation with its attorney to seek or receive legal advice, or consultation regarding pending or contemplated litigation, or for any purpose authorized by law; discussion about the value or transfer of real property; discussion about a prospective gift or donation; consideration of specific personnel matters; discussion about security personnel or devices, or discussion of certain economic development matters. The board may also announce that it will go into executive session on any item listed on this agenda if the subject matter is permitted for a closed session by provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Any vote regarding these items shall be taken in open session.
Okay, Bonnie's here. All right, ready?
Okay, our next board meeting will be October 19th at 5:30 PM. Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Take it. Second? No, we are. Second?
4, all in favor?
Yeah.